Hola mi gente, ¿cómo están? Mi nombre es Alba Mal, me pueden decir Alba. El canal se llama Seriela, estamos aquí para hablar de libros, algunos de ellos en español desde Puerto Rico. Hello, my name is Alba Mar, you may call me Alba. Channel name is Seriela. We're here to talk about books and some of them in Spanish from Puerto Rico. And I've been gone a long time, right? I took my birthday month off, very important birthday. I have to put my headband on because I'm already perspiring here. It is very hot. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a fire sign in case you hadn't noticed. Yeah. And so I took my birthday month to reinvigorate myself, right? And to take care of myself. But I did fall into a reading slump with things that have been going on locally and globally. But got out of the slump, and here are the books that I read in August. I finished, as you may have heard from my last video, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. Now, I have issues. I do. I have some issues with this book, but I do recommend it as a primer for people who do not yet fully understand what the terms racism, anti-racism, what those terms are, because he goes into it with a fine-tooth comb, which is one of the reasons that I have issues with it. If he had stayed within the realm of racism, right, and not gone into the other different racisms that he mentions, it would have been a lot better. I'm looking forward to reading the young edition of Stamped from the Beginning and see how that goes. Then I also finished The New Jim Crow. I think I mentioned this to you last time also, and that I really admire Michelle Alexander, the author, and the work that she put into the study of mass incarceration in the age of color blindness and the state of our prison industrial system here in the United States and the colony. I'd read anything else that Michelle Alexander decides to do. Next book that I finished reading was Jazz by Toni Morrison for the year-long Toni Morrison read-along group that we have. I will link Hannah from Hannah's Books channel down below. And I have to make a disclaimer. I love jazz. I've loved jazz since I was a teenager. So I was expecting that at the very least the writing style here would mimic jazz, right? And it did. And I was not bothered by it at all. As a matter of fact, I enjoyed it. I was also intrigued, as always, by her characters. And we follow a middle-aged salesman who has shot and killed his teenage lover. And at the funeral, his wife, Violet, attempts to stab the corpse. And the novel goes on from there. Can you imagine? Toni Morrison always packs a punch, a very surprising punch. And I was engaged from the very beginning until the very end. And the ideas and the themes that she brings up in this novel, plus her style, loved it. I really did enjoy it. So I have to keep on with my acquisition of jazz, make a playlist of my jazz favorites. And then after that, I've searched the whole house. Don't you just hate when that happens? I've lost my Foucault's Pendulum. I finished Foucault's Pendulum. Yes, can you believe it? And it was not as intimidating as I thought. Now let me explain. Foucault's Pendulum I read with the physical copy of the book that I can't find right now. Yeah. But along with the audiobook, because the audiobook was very well done. And if I can find the link, I will put the link down below. Because the inflections in the narrator's voice helped me realize that Foucault's Pendulum is a satire and a send-up of the publishing industry, partly, in Italy. And these editors in a vanity publishing house, vanity publishing house, yes, decide that they are going to one-up their esoteric writers and make their own esoteric plan. But the plan backfires. So, yeah, it was fascinating. I would probably have to read it again someday. I found it enjoyable, and I love satire. Yeah. So, thank you, Jason from Byways and Bookland, for the opportunity to read this book after so many years that I've wanted to do so. Yeah, Kindred was the next book by Octavia Butler. This was for the slow read along over with Njeri at ONYX Pages. And I read this also as a buddy read. This was a buddy read with Adriana, mi querida Adriana. And not an easy read. No, not an easy read, but again, I enjoyed it. This follows Dana, a young African-American writer who is suddenly, surprisingly, snatched up away to 1815, where she has to rescue this little white boy, Rufus, who will turn out to be her own ancestor. And every once in a while, unexpectedly, she'll be sent back and forth to the present, to the past, to the present, to the past. And this present and past thing is very, very significant and meaningful in this novel. How the past is always present. As much as we would like to say no, it is. The past is always present. And the decisions and the dilemmas in which she found herself, right? How could she, what kind of difference could she make in the lives of her ancestors? Could she influence them in any way? And if she could, how would that manifest itself later on in the present? I found it fascinating. Now, this was the physical copy, regular physical copy of Kindred, and I started the first few pages of the graphic novel Kindred by Damien Duffy and John Jennings, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful edition, right? But as soon as I realized that Dana's husband here was white, right there, I hadn't found that out yet. It hadn't been mentioned. Not that I realized. It hadn't been mentioned here until further along. So it was like a spoiler. It spoiled it for me. So yeah, I didn't continue with it. I may later on, but no. But I really enjoyed this one. Yeah, and then after Kindred, I read the Satapur Moonstone, which is the second installment of the writer Sujata Massey's series on the only female solicitor in Bombay in 1921. The first one, her first novel, The Widows of Malabar Hill, I absolutely loved. Now this one, not so much. Not so much. It was engaging. It was very atmospheric, very different atmosphere from the first novel, because this is entirely rainforest and green and rainy, and and then we have a castle, and we're dealing with Indian royalty and mystery, people disappearing. Yeah. And she also has to deal with the fact that women are in Purda, I think it is, and aren't allowed to have contact with men except for family members, right? So she is trying to intervene in a dispute over the education of this young crown prince. And the two royal women in that young crown prince's life are in conflict over that education. And so it was a little convoluted, and by the end of it, I didn't really care what happened. It was that convoluted. But I am looking forward to the third novel, because it left like a little inkling of what might happen in a third installment. And it would be very interesting to find out what happened to the husband that she is separated from, and what kind of relationships she can have in the future. And yeah, I really, really enjoy that character. The character of the solicitor Parveen Mystery. I'm going to be looking forward to more novels by her. So that's it for August. Take care, people. Wear your masks. Don't touch your face like Sarah says. Wash your hands. Take care and happy reading. Cuídense mucho, mi gente. Sigan leyendo. Adiós.